Give us an idea. What does A3 look like? Where is it held? What can a person who's coming for the first time, what would they expect to see?
Okay, so that you're talking about our Automate show.
Yeah, the Automate show. Yeah. Sorry.
So that'll take place next May 22 to 25 in Detroit. This is the benchmark that tells you how fast the industry is growing. That Automate show in 2011 had a couple hundred companies that occupied maybe 40,000 square feet of exhibit space. In 2022, it had over 600 companies and occupied nearly 250,000 square feet of exhibit space.
All right. You just said went from 40,000 to 250,000. So 5x the floor space.
6x.
6x. Sorry. 6x the floor space. Yeah. That's
since 2011. Bonkers. And it'll be over 300,000 square feet in 2023. We have almost no space left. If you go to automateshow.com, you look at that floor plan, you'll wonder, wow, how are they going to get more companies in here? So that's the best indicator. We had 25,000 or so people register for the show in 2022. That number should grow in 2023. We had a line and out the door to sign up for exhibit space for 2023 after just the first day of the show. Our sales team never got to leave the office. They never even got to see the show that they sold because they were selling.
I want to be on the sales team. That sounds like an easy job.
Unbelievable. It's a hard job, but it's unbelievable how much demand there is because there's so many companies who want to automate, and Automate became the show in North America. It's the largest show in North America for robotics and automation and these technologies. We were nowhere in 2011. We were a minor show. Now we're a major event globally.
I've been to some pretty crazy trade shows, and I know that the biggest booths are reserved for the people that have possibly the most elaborate things to showcase, right? So I went to like IAAPA, which was the amusement industry show once, and like people had like actual rides. They brought rides in to kind of sell them. But when you see the demand for the floor space, do you see it having any indication of like the size and scope of projects people are trying to solve for and what they want to display? Or do you see innovations in all types of things, like, for example, like nano robots? I know have long been in part of sci-fi, but I don't know how close we are to get into those things. Give us an idea of where you see, like, what are people going to be displaying?
Well, people are going to be displaying the products that they're trying to, sell to industry. So you're going to see it automate. You're going to see robots that can lift heavy items. One of the featured exhibits last year was a robot lifting a Corvette, right? A red Corvette, demonstrating, hey, we can lift heavy things. Now that's a risky business, right? You better be accurate. Well, it was the highlight of the show. So cool. But then you have mobile robots showing what we're capable of doing, what we're capable of working around people, what we can do in terms of the amount that we can put on the robot. So, I mean, there's just, depending on the industry that the company is in, you're seeing really cool demos. Or some companies have a wide range of, they want to show that their robots can do things like make coffee. Why? Not so much that they're selling robots into making coffee, they might be, but it's, again, you're trying to excite people about the capabilities of the technology so that someone like you, let's say you're a small business owner, can say, hey, I have a task that's basically what I need to do. I need to load this machine, or I need to assemble something. You want to see something that makes you say, oh, if it can do that, it certainly can do this, or that's exactly doing what exactly I needed to do.
You saying that immediately started making me think about our production van. Production van's got all kinds of equipment. It's got like C-stands, cameras. It's got a lot of expensive, sensitive equipment, and it's kind of hard to pack. I would love to have some help. So if anyone's out there listening, please make this for me so I can have a machine pack these vans.
There you go. And there's a lot that goes on in that space in robotics, is packing and unpacking. And now that's one of the things. How do you unload the van? So there's a lot of advances there too.
The fun or terrible part about, for anyone listening, loading a van with production equipment, C-stands, is the C-stands are extremely oblong. They're long and they have this like long but legs to one side. So it's not like a box. You know what I mean? So it's, anyway. I'm just being selfish now because I'm like, hey.
There you go. Well, come to the show. You'll talk to people. You'll find out if you can have somebody do that for you.
For you personally, what are some of the things that you've seen that you just were like, wow, things are changing? Like this, a year ago, we would have never seen something like this. What are some of the things that you've seen over the years that let you know, like, wow, things are changing really fast?
Well, I think, again, the intelligence of the robotics. You can teach them something and then they can teach themselves now. They learn by doing. So that's a big advancement. I also think the fact, again, that you can work side by side with the technology safely, if you've done the proper risk assessment. There was a case recently that drew a lot of attention, a robot playing chess with somebody and who injured the child. That was a terrible, terrible application of robotics technology. Never should have been allowed. If you don't do a proper risk assessment, all of this is unsafe, right? If I've got a robot, we used to have them behind cages for a reason, right? It was because you didn't want people getting hurt. We have a great safety record. One of the things that our association does is develop robot safety standards. We take this stuff very seriously. You have to do a proper risk assessment. You have to have the proper safeguards in place before you put a robot next to a person. Okay, so the robot might not hurt you if it bumps into you. Well, what if it's holding a knife? That will hurt you. So you really have to pay attention to these safety standards. But the fact that you could have a robot next to you, not holding a knife, and work collaboratively with it, that's a huge advance, right? These machines are there to help us. And if they can be close to us, that's another way that they can help us. We could have them do the task, and we're overseeing it, or we're doing part of the task, and they're doing part of the task. That's the way to really leverage the value of these technologies.
Yeah, I like hearing that. When you were saying that, I was thinking immediately of my friend who owns a restaurant. He was talking about one of the hardest jobs of staff is the prep cooks because it's basically chopping. They're not actually chefs. It's like chopping all the food so that's easy to cook. Why couldn't that be automated? It feels like it should.
It can be. And some people are doing that in that space because there's a shortage of line cooks. And a lot of restaurants can't open now. I travel all over the country, and you do too. You can't get into a restaurant on certain nights because they're closed. Why? They don't have enough people. The other thing is in a restaurant, there's a lot of tasks, right? Clearing the table, of the dishes, the dirty dishes. Bringing the orders back from the kitchen to the table. I try and play restaurateur sometimes, and I say, what would I do with this technology? I would have the robots do that. I would have the people talking to the customers. Hey, would you like to try this new appetizer we've got tonight? Or this new wine we just got in? How would you like to sample that? And if you do that, more people are going to spend more money in the restaurant because the customer is going to feel like, oh, well, yeah, somebody told me that. The worst application in a restaurant, in my opinion, is the kiosk. Now, I go to airports where they have the kiosk. I can't ask him any questions. Is this good? Is it not good? What should I be ordering? I can barely figure out how to use it because I'm not all that technical. But that's not the best use. The best use is to let the people do what they're good at. Talk to the customers.
Well, I agree with you full-heartedly there. I've had the privilege or not privilege, whatever you want to look at it, but I think a lot of people worked in the restaurant industry, and you're absolutely right. When I was a server, most of my time was spent running around, and I know that if I spent time, talking up the wine list, for sure, the wine list and the beer list, I would get tipped out bigger.
There you go.
That's how it goes.
Now, there's another example. Robots in hotels, right? Delivering things to the room. Now, at first, I talked to a company that makes a robot like that recently, and they were saying at first, the people in the hotel were resistant because what's this robot going to do? And then they realized, if I have the robot deliver the toothpaste and the toothbrush or shaving cream, that's okay. Let me deliver the champagne. Why? Because the person delivering the champagne is going to somebody who's buying champagne and likely to give them a bigger tip.
Very smart. I think for the longest time, a lot of people have been resistant to automation, meaning the public. The people say it's going to take up jobs, but I think history has already proven that technology doesn't take away jobs. It just creates new ones. Otherwise we would, we would still be using plows. When I hear you talk about it is number one, the amount of small companies that are now being able to participate. Companies, more innovation from different people. I think that's going to accelerate things. The other thing that you said that I hang on to is the software element is going to make these products smarter. So like in our chef example, right? Basically, you need the robot to recognize what it's cutting. It needs to recognize how to cut that thing. It's basically got to be smart because no one wants to come to the robot and we're doing carrots, push a button. Then they're going to bring all, you know what I mean? They're going to want it to cut on demand, whatever needs to be cut in the way they need it cut without thought, without human intervention. And I think the way you describe it is exactly the future. It's a blend of human interaction, and machines are going to handle some of the things that, we're not suited for repetitive tasks. People, inherently, your mind gets bored of doing the same thing. This is who we are.
Yeah, and especially when you think about a system that has more automation in it, the people are still the most important component. This is what you have to understand. These technologies can do a lot, but somebody's got to decide what should they be doing, and how do we take advantage of all the data that we can get from what they're doing, and how do we improve because of the technology, and how do we make our lives better because of the technology, not just in our jobs, but our lives overall. We're talking about elder care robots now. That's one I'm interested in, right? So you have to really look at how to take advantage. They're tools. If you didn't call it a robot, if you called it a computer, you wouldn't be afraid of it now, right? It's to the jobs issue. We've looked at this since 1996. We found something really interesting over this whole period of time. Whenever robot sales go up, unemployment goes down. And when robot sales go down, unemployment goes up. The economists tell us, oh, you're not proving causation, you're just showing a correlation. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not proving that robots are job killers if during the greatest period of robot expansion in the United States over the last decade, unemployment fell from 10% to 3.5%. We're at record lows right now. If there's great expansion of robotics, how is that a job killer? That's a job enabler. Let's make our jobs better in creating more jobs.
Hey, thanks for watching. This segment is brought to us by Salesforce Platform. Visit salesforce.com/newsletter to discover timely insights and useful tips tailored to your role. Subscribe to this channel and get more great IT and tech interviews with top industry leaders.